Now, over the past few years here on Breakfast, we've been following the progress of the British Normandy Memorial being built overlooking what was once known as Gold Beach. This weekend, the memorial will open to mark the 77th anniversary of the D-Day landings.
It honours more than 22,000 men and women who lost their lives there in the summer of 1944. John Maguire has been hearing some of the stories from that historic day.
Ken Peppercorn was born and raised in Cambridgeshire, but was serving with the Royal Scots when he landed in Normandy on D-Day.
There was all life jackets soaked in blood, and the sea was all red with blood. And that really, put you off a bit, but I thought to myself, well, I'm here, I've got to keep going.
He was just 22 years old when he attempted his first precarious steps onto what was codenamed Gold Beach.
And I slipped off the side of the ramp into a bomb hole, went under the water, and I kept walking till I kept my head above the water. Came out and I walked up the dunes, and I found a big hole, and I got in that because bullets and shells were flying over the top all the time. And I was so hungry, I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to die, I'm not going to die hungry. So I got my tin out, my little K, what they call K rations, poured water on it, and I made myself some porridge.
Ken last returned to the Normandy coast 2 years ago for the 75th anniversary. During the invasion, he was wounded and captured. He still has the shrapnel that was removed from his leg. With the Allies advancing, he was crammed onto a cattle truck bound for a prisoner of war camp.
There was a slit inside of the trucks, and the French civilians would bring a bottle of wine. And of course, I got my steel helmet and I tied my belt round it and lowered it down here, and they poured it into my hat, and I didn't spill a drop, and I pulled it up. It's surprising what you do, and I managed to get a drink.
Later, when on a forced march, he managed to escape and found his way to the safety of an American unit. Along with the veterans, families of those who fought and died liberating Normandy will attend a commemoration at the National Memorial Arboretum in Staffordshire. They'll watch a video link from France as the Normandy Memorial has its official opening. Chris Bates will be there. His uncle Sidney, nicknamed Basher, is the only Victoria Cross recipient featured on the memorial.
A brave man like all of them are. They were all brave men, whether they win a medal or not. They're just, his action, I'm told, did save the situation.
Chris remembers his uncle's story being told in one of his boyhood comics, and decades on says it's vital we remember.
2 or 3 times a year I spend a weekend or a week if I can over there, travel around, pay my respects, just so our lads are being visited. If you were, sorry, it gets a bit emotional, but that's how it is. There's a lot of young men out there, so I think it's good that we should remember them and keep visiting them wherever we can. Yeah.
Of the 22,442 names carved in stone, 4 were just 16 years old. Robert Johns, known as Bob, had run away from home and signed up aged 15. One of his older brothers had already been killed in the war. His niece reads from Bob's last letter home.
I will be home for my birthday. I hope so. The weather here is lousy. It seems to rain most of the time, and last night I got wet. Boy, was I fed up. I know my Gramps kept his letter folded in his wallet until his dying day. It meant that much to him.
Just a boy, but his courage belied his youth.
When I got his service record, I found out he was 5 foot 3.5 inches and 125 pounds, so 9 stone roughly. So he must have looked like a lad, really.
Harry Salmon rode a bike through northern France to raise money for the memorial and had a sneak preview, managing to find his father's name immortalised on its walls.
I did expect it. I knew it was there, but it was still a revelation. It was still quite something.
And emotional, would you say?
Yes, yes, very emotional, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an emotional person, so it doesn't take much. So it was quite something, it really was.
Here at the National Archives are the original wartime documents, a valuable resource that formed just part of the research by Jane Furlong, who spent more than 9 months determining and double-checking every single name on the memorial.
It might be a name etched in stone, but behind each name is a story. And you can see, and the memorial itself is ordered by date, so that what you can do as you're going round the memorial itself, you can follow the tide of battle. So you will see, naturally, the 6th of June, huge numbers of casualties on that day. But then as you go round the memorials, you will see other elements of, some days were quieter than others, some days there were more casualties than others. But as you're walking around, you can get a sort of a visceral feel for that as you're physically walking around it.
Those not on the walls, the ones who made it home, were fortunate, says Eric Strange. He was a young sub-lieutenant in charge of beach landing craft. He still has his boots from 1944 and has also been back to Normandy in recent years.
I was lucky because I was with the landing craft at the time, and it was very rough actually on June 5th and 6th, very rough. I got picked up and dropped off Sword Beach. The rest of the lads had to go over in their own steam, which was a bit naughty that night, 40-foot open barges, because it wasn't a quiet evening at all, very rough sea. Our biggest worry was we had no food. Well, we had a box of so-called rations, but they disappeared.
Why is it important for you to have gone on those trips, and hopefully you'll go on more?
Yeah, I mean, it was a hell of a thing to happen, so it's something that you sort of keep in your mind in a way. But it's all a long time ago.
Such was the scale of D-Day, the brutality of war, and the loss of so many on both sides, including civilians. Those who survived say they do feel lucky. And to this day, talk of the duty they feel to tell the world of their experiences in an attempt to prevent such loss of life from ever happening again. John Maguire, BBC News.
And that memorial will mean so much to so many people. It's absolutely stunning.
I love that. I mean, one thing is the sheer scale, and that it looks magnificent, and then you think of the detail, the research that's gone into every element of it.
Just the peace there as well.